Brendan Shanahan may have offered his services to the Buffalo Sabres, and they may have said no. Some things to learn from a report from Andrew Peters, and also a free agent that is still available that I've got my eye on. That's coming up here on Locked On Sabres.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into today's edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast, and thanks for making us your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for checking us out. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can watch us on YouTube, where you can like and subscribe the show there. You could also sign up for our Locked On Sabres text club if you're not already a part of that. You can sign up by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSabres. Today's episode is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. It's a beautiful July day here in Buffalo. The weather is hot, but we're going to talk some hockey, stay inside, stay cool, and we'll talk about what's going on the ice. There are a couple of things I wanted to get to on today's show as we are kind of in the thick of the offseason here, and this is the beginning of the slow time. So, hey, I know that football is going to be on the brain very soon for a lot of Buffalo sports fans, and there's going to be training camp coming up, but one thing that I actually do like about the summer while talking about the Sabres, it can be more positive than during the year, because I do like to, not with every show, but a couple of shows here and there throughout the summer, let's do some nostalgia. Let's do some nostalgia. And when you do nostalgia, it's gonna be positive feelings for the most part. Whereas, many of these years where we're living in the season, those seasons are typically not going very well. So it's very easy to be, down on a lot of what's going on with the Buffalo Sabres. And that might be a little bit of the vibe of today's show, but not just with this blurb I want to talk about at the beginning of the show with Shanahan and president of hockey operations. But there is a free agent available that I want to talk about for a minute today that I've liked for a long time. Jack Roslovic. And we'll look through real quick, the remaining list of free agents. I saw a top 10 free agents available. And I want to go through that just for a little bit. And then also a video I saw of Zach Benson working out in the offseason on the ice, working hard, and where I think he might be good things and bad things from this very short video. It's like a 2-minute long video that I saw of Zach Benson. But good news is he's at least, working hard in the offseason, checking on Tage maybe a little bit too. I've been, just scouring around social media, seeing what some of the Sabres guys are up to. But we should definitely start today's show with what was said by Andrew Peters on the After the Whistle podcast late this week. Wanted to get to that right away because there's a surprising element of it, there's a not surprising element of it, and there's a confirmation element of it. If you did not hear what Andrew had to say, he said that somebody that he trusts told him that either Brendan Shanahan or somebody that works for Brendan Shanahan reached out to the Buffalo Sabres and offered his services to be the team's president of hockey operations. Shanahan, who has been in that role with the Toronto Maple Leafs for years, right? And I'm sure he's currently doesn't have that job anywhere. And if he would like to have that role again, then you look around the league and you look at a list of teams and okay, who could really use a president of hockey operations? And if I were Brendan Shanahan, the Sabres would be one of the first teams that I would probably reach out to as well, feeling like, oh, they need a guy. They need a, true hockey man, relationships in the sport to kind of come in there and be a professional at the top of the organization. That is probably the surprising part of it, though, still, is any idea that Brendan Shanahan, who's a Hall of Fame player, who was a longtime executive in the NHL now. I mean, he had been running the Toronto Maple Leafs for a decade. Before that, of course, a Department of Player Safety, so he had done that in the NHL office, but he had been at the top of a team for a long time. He, by the way, did discuss with the New York Islanders a role in their organization, but that did not end up coming to fruition. So Shanahan offering his services to the Sabres. Still a little bit surprising, though, right? Like somebody of that caliber that is interested in Buffalo. Not just Buffalo, but the Sabres. Well, apparently he did. The unsurprising element of it, but it's still something to learn from, I think, a little bit, is Peter says that whoever he was talking to told him that basically what Shanahan received back was basically a thanks, but no thanks. We're good because Terry Pegula is the president of hockey operations, or that's how he sees himself. We don't need a president of hockey operations because I'm the president of hockey operations, coming from Terry Pegula. Now, is this really news? I mean, it's news that Shanahan would have been interested. Is it news that Terry sees himself as that role, that he is in that role? Maybe not by title, but owner, and he, because what really is the structure of a president of hockey operations? It is to be the boss for the general manager, to kind of direct the organization in the way that you would like to. You report to the owner, and the GM reports to you. And we know that Kevin Adams is a Pegula guy. So putting somebody in between Pegula and Kevin Adams, I never would have believed that they would have actually done that. It wouldn't make sense to the structure of the organization, considering who the GM is right now. That doesn't mean that it's smart or that it's a good idea, but it's very clear Terry wants to be the guy above the coach and the guy above the general manager. It's the same way the structure of the Bills works, and it's the way that I would imagine, as long as he's the owner, and this is kind of the takeaway that I have from this, is that as long as Terry Pegula owns this team, they will never have a president of hockey operations again. They will never have that person. They had it in Pat LaFontaine, and that was very short-lived, and we don't fully know how that unfolded and why it was so immediate and brief that he got out of there and the two sides split. But direction of the franchise and who's really in charge here, I mean, that would make a lot of sense. Also, from what we hear in little bits and pieces from Terry Pegula, whether it's in the Beyond Blue and Gold series or whether it's just from rumors or from reports, is that he wants his voice heard on this team. He grew up a Sabre fan. I think he might consider himself, I wonder what he would say in this honest moment. Because in my mind, I still kind of consider him to think of himself as a hockey guy, not a football guy. And maybe that's part of the thing that can get them in trouble. But I don't know, like how long do you have to be serving in the role of, if you see yourself as the director of hockey operations, how many times do you have to miss the playoffs in a row before you might think to yourself, man, I might just not be cut out to be the next man above the GM. I should put somebody in between that knows what he's doing. And if you haven't realized that in 14 years, I'm not sure you ever will. So I think for the long-term future, if you're ever wondering about who could serve in that role, president of hockey operations, don't wonder about it. It's a waste of time. It's not going to happen. Unless, and I'll leave a little bit of room for, because him and Adams are kind of tied at the hip, it seems, that if we have another really, really poor year, that Adams would get kicked up to that president of hockey operations role. But anyways, I don't think that part of it is that surprising. The Shanahan part would be surprising. And very quickly, just for my take on it, I do wish they would do it. I wish Shanahan was not perfect with Toronto, right? And the Shana plan and everything that went down in Toronto. Like, he made a lot of mistakes, and that team did not win. That team did not win the way they should have, given the talent that they had. So this isn't like burn the arena down because they let Brendan Shanahan go, but I absolutely would have preferred him to be in charge of the organization, and it would have given the Sabres an element of credibility. And that is the thing I am just dying for with them, is any form of credibility. And Brendan Shanahan running your hockey department, I think would have given the Buffalo Sabres that. But they don't want it, and they want to pass on it. So, all right, no Shanahan for the Buffalo Sabres. When we come back, a free agent that is still available, and if you think, oh, there could still be some names out there, other than the one name I'm going to give you, I got a list of the top 10 remaining UFAs, and you're going to really realize how quickly the NHL offseason really goes. It is like a few days of free agency, and then there is nothing left. And I'll show that off a little bit when we come back here on Locked On Sabres. Today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast is presented by Indeed. You just realized that your business needed to hire somebody yesterday. So how can you find amazing candidates fast? Well, that's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed's all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs puts your post at the top of the page, and that'll help you reach the right candidates a lot faster. If you've ever been in that spot where you need the right hire, like yesterday, the pressure is on, and every day without the right person can be a setback, that's exactly when Indeed Sponsored Jobs comes in handy. They make sure that your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And right now, you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now. Support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, we are in the very, very late stages of free agency. Very little has to come out of what's left here, but we're still waiting on the Bo Byram trade/arbitration. Date should be at the end of July, so we got a couple of weeks probably until we get anything on that front, although, of course, we could get a trade at any point in time. So UFAs that are still available. If you saw it, Jeff Skinner signing yesterday with the San Jose Sharks, 1 year, $3 million. A little bit funny because Jeff Skinner, I saw the joke being made, Jeff Skinner got a taste of the playoffs finally in his NHL career and said, not for me. And he goes to San Jose. But I really think that's the right call for him. I mean, I know, if you've played so little in the postseason, 1,078 NHL games, 5 playoff games to this point. You would have thought, yeah, go to another contender. He wants ice time. He wants a role. And last year, 12 minutes a night with Edmonton. Maybe he wants something closer to the 16, 17 minutes a night he was getting in Buffalo. So he goes to San Jose. And I think that will probably work for him because the Sharks are going to give him what he needs. Jeff Skinner will produce for you if you put him with a good center. And the Sharks don't have good wingers. So they're going to probably have him in the top 6 to begin the year. And I expect him to score 20 goals playing with centers like that, even though he's going to be 33. Actually, he is 33. So Skinner signs, so he's off the table. Not the Sabres, we're going to bring him back. How thin the group is. So from 10 down, Luke Fox of Sportsnet's top 10 remaining unrestricted free agents, just to show off how thin this group is. Alex Georgiev, not interested in the Sabres because they have a goalie already. Jan Ruda, 34-year-old defenseman, no thank you. Michael Carconi, left winger, fourth liner, no thank you. Joel Kivarenta, formerly of Colorado. He is actually a pretty good bottom 6 player, but the Sabres have enough of those, so we're good. Luke Cunnin, nope. Good on that front. That's a mid-age center that has shown. I saw a report there was some interest in him from multiple clubs, but nobody was referenced. Number 5, Max Pacioretty, veteran player, 36 years old. I actually kind of feel like Pacioretty is a potential break glass in case of emergency. I don't want to say top 6 though. forward for the Buffalo Sabres, maybe they just wouldn't add another forward, because at that point, it's, what are we really doing here? 36-year-old Max Pacioretty. It just kind of feels like, though, a signing they would make. He is a big name. He's way over the hill. He's got very little left to give. I mean, last 2 seasons combined, playing 84 games, 9 goals, and 36 points. He did turn it on in the postseason a little bit for Toronto last year, 8 points in 11 games, but that's not enough to make me interested in him at all. Left winger. That's the only reason I bring him up, because he's number 5 in this list, and he plays the position the Sabres are weak right now, which is left wing. Number 4, Ilya Samsonov. Sabres don't need a goaltender. Number 3, Matt Grzelcyk. We talked about him a month ago when we talked about defenseman ideas for the Sabres. I think he was like the worst idea for them, and it's not surprising to me he is still unsigned. And then the top 2. I like number 1, but here's number 2. Number 2 is Victor Olofsson. Victor Olofsson, and I do wonder a little bit. I think it would kind of be embarrassing, but you need a left winger. You need a goal scorer to replace JJ Peterka. I mean, I'm not going to tell you this is a good idea. I'm just saying his name is out there. He had a really good season in Vegas. Very good advanced numbers. He scored 15 goals in 56 games. He dealt with some injury. So, above a 20-goal pace playing, if he had played 82 games. It just would feel like such a backwards move to bring him back when it was so bad for him in that final season with the Buffalo Sabres. The year before was great, 28 goals, but that 23-24 season was pretty darn bad for Victor Olofsson. So not going down that road. The name I wanted to mention here quickly, and if you've listened to me for years, this is a player that I've always kind of been infatuated with. He's not amazing, but I've always liked this player. I think he has always been a pretty good offensive player. I think defensively, he doesn't quite fit what the Sabres are looking for this offseason, of the tougher to play against, responsible in their own end. Jack Roslovic is a player that I've liked for a long time. I think he's a good depth scorer on a good team. And I think he just proved that he was that last year in Carolina, playing under 14 minutes a night, playing often on a third line. He scored 22 goals that's the second time in his career that he has scored 20 or more goals. And I think it's the second time in 4 years that he's been able to do that. He's just a player, though, that nobody ever seems to value that much. Like, he's always available in the trade market. He's always the last free agent to sign. And I kind of get that, right? Like, what is the market? This is Olofsson a little bit too. What is the market for a one-dimensional finisher that's not an elite finisher? Like, he's okay. He's pretty good. He might give you 10 goals, though, and then he's pretty much useless to you. But he might give you 20. And for that, the Sabres, I think, could use some goal-scoring options in their forward ranks. If it didn't work out, you sign him to a 1-year, $2 million deal. It's not going to cost you much money at all. And the player, if it doesn't work out, gets waived, or you just move on, and no harm, no foul. His last year, though, for Carolina would make me intrigued to see if he could play in my top 6 at the beginning of the year, because desperate times call for desperate measures. And I think he could be a better idea than Jack Quinn or Zach Benson to play in your top 6. The only hiccup with this is he's a right shot center. He has played wing in his career, but he is not somebody that I ever would think about playing on that left wing hole for the Sabres. So somebody would have to go to their off wing, which, listen, there are a lot of guys in the league that are capable of doing that. I'm not sure Roslovic would be the guy you do that with. Maybe Tuck would go to his offside. You would go with a higher end player doing that. So you'd have to figure out the lineup portion of it. He also would give you some center depth, right, in your top 6. If Josh Norris gets hurt, which is very likely to happen at some point in time, if Yuri Kulik doesn't take a step forward, he would give you another center option in your ranks. But this player is a pretty good finisher, pretty good creator. I watched a video of all of his goals from last season, and they're all either a wrist shot from the faceoff circle that beats the goalie clean, and there are a lot of those, which kind of points to he's been a pretty good finisher. 12% shooting percentage guy for his career. Last year was almost at 16%. So you might expect that to come down a little bit. But Roslovic has always been a good finisher around the net as well. A lot of his goals around the net. Not a lot of power play time. So again, top 6 desperate times call for desperate measures idea with some center depth on top of it for no cost at all. And for me, no downside. So he is the number 1 available UFA still, according to Luke Fox of Sportsnet. And again, there's some good advanced numbers offensively, more so than defensively. And that's a player that I feel like I would like to see the Sabres sign because I don't see what the downside would be. And maybe you get a Jason Zucker season out of him. Maybe you get a 20-goal campaign from Roslovic and you look smart because you did another 1-year, short term deal that doesn't have a lot of downside to it. That's the only UFA that I see still available that is any of any interest to me for the Buffalo Sabres. One guy, and that's my best job of selling it. It's not something that I would be in love with for the Sabres, but I would like it if they were going to try to go down that road. When we come back, I saw a video of Zach Benson working out this offseason. I want to talk about him for a minute when we come back here on Locked On Sabres. Today's edition of the Locked On Sabres is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Summer sports are in full swing, whether you are all about baseball under the lights or golf. We got another major coming up this week. Can't wait for that. Or high-stakes soccer action. By the way, this month is NFL preseason, so you got that coming too. FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You've already watching the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned on the beach. I've been using FanDuel a lot, looking at some of these tennis tournaments lately, Wimbledon mostly, obviously. Some of these golf tournaments, the Scottish Open is always fun to watch on this front. And all these daily promotions, you get these odds boosts are great. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. So whether I am placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Wrapping things up here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Sabres are in their offseason. 2 things I've seen on social media. It's social media videos or pictures, so, these are not really that meaningful, but just things that I thought about looking at Sabres on social media. One, quickly on Tage Thompson. Tage Thompson looks like he is in the greatest shape I have ever seen. I can't confirm that he is in drastically different shape than he was before because he's always been a dude that's been in really good shape. But I saw a picture of him on the beach and I thought to myself, that looks like a dude that has been in the weight room desperately trying to make the playoffs this summer. So maybe. The other one was Zach Benson. Zach Benson working out on the ice, going through certain drills. There were a lot of drills that are impressive from Zach Benson that I was seeing. Skating, what he's doing with the puck, certain unique, creative puck movements that he's kind of always been known for. And those stuff, cool. I'm glad you're great at that, but not really the thing I want to see you getting better at this summer. I already know you're good at using the boards to your advantage and understanding the angles and spacing and, using your leverage as a skate. There's a lot of stuff in these drills where I'm okay, I know you're good at that. I know you're good at that. I know you're good at that. Where's the stuff I want to see you get better at, which is shooting and getting bigger? And there is one video where you see him. I can't tell which goalie it is. He's got a Dallas Stars practice uniform on. So, it could be Jake Ottinger for all we know. It also could just be anybody in the Stars system. That Benson on this drill comes down on this goalie and he just beats him clean with a wrist shot. And I went, ooh, that's what I want to see. That's what I want. I want to see Zach Benson have the ability to beat goalies one-on-one straight up. You got to your great scoring area and now you just got to beat the goaltender. His expected goals were less than half of what his actual goal total was less than half of what his individual expected goals were last year, because he would get those scoring chances and then couldn't bury them. So I want to see him have the ability to shoot. I saw 2 impressive shots from him in these videos. Hard to tell if it's drastically different than last year, same thing, but that is the thing. If I'm looking for anything this summer in a Sabre workout video from any player, all I want to see is Zach Benson shooting the puck past goaltenders, looking like he's getting a lot of weight on his stick and being able to beat them cleanly. The other thing I would have loved to see that I don't think we're going to be able to is something with Owen Power, whether that's same thing, big shots from him or looking more physical. The problem with that is, of course, he had that injury at the end of the year and probably delayed his on-ice work. So we might have some time on the power front. So, hey, if Zach Benson, you want to put out a video on TikTok or Instagram every single day of shooting pucks, I'm all for it. It's going to just get me more and more excited about what he could potentially be this season. Because to me, that's like the only thing really holding him back, is just be able to beat goaltenders and get stronger upper body wise, especially. All right, that's going to do it for us today here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. I mentioned top of the show, we'll get some nostalgia in along the way. We'll keep tracking Bo Byram and what's going to happen there. And we'll see what happens around the league. I saw a report that they're going back to the decentralized draft. All right, it went horribly, but maybe the NHL will do a better job with production this time. So yeah, we'll have some fun in the coming months with the Sabres and the offseason. So that'll do it for us. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you next time here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Be sure to check out Locked On NHL. I'll actually be on Monday's edition of Locked On NHL. Make that your second listen. You can find them on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts as well. And we'll talk to you next time here on Locked On Sabres, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.